Namaste everyone. This video is about techniques of enhancing memory. Now, as you know, it's very common to forget. It happens to everyone. Forgetting is the problem. Whereas, what is the solution to this problem? Techniques to enhance our memory. This will help us as a solution to remember things in our daily life, to do our daily chores, as well as in academics. It will help you to recall all your learned information in your examination hall. And there are many techniques, plenty of them. We need to know how to put them to use. So let me share about all the different techniques to remember. Yeah. So to enhance our memory, the fact that we depend a lot on our memory for a lot of things that we do on a daily basis, psychologists have developed some techniques or strategies to strengthen our retention and recall of whatever we have stored in our memory. And these methods will help us to improve our understanding of how our memory works. Because once we understand how our memory works, it's easy to know how to use our memory. Now, one technique is using mnemonics through visualization. Here, we create images about what we want to remember. Whereas mnemonics using organization will give an order. When we are studying, we study systematically. We give an order and structure on what information we want to remember. And another is processing techniques. Here we apply knowledge about different memory processes. If you remember, what are the three different stages, processes or stages of memory? Receiving and then storage, and the third one is retrieval. So once you understand how memory processes work, you will be able to frame techniques or strategies to remember better. The first one under mnemonics using visualization is the keyword method. So here we form connections with familiar knowledge, like forming associations between what we are currently learning with what we already know, with the old information. So making association between new information and old information. This is especially useful for learning languages. First thing, it's a two-step process. So first step is finding a sound-alike word, finding a similar word. For example, in Spanish, gato means cat. Find a similar word in whichever language you're familiar with. For example, I'm familiar with English. So gato, similar to gate in English. That is the first step. And then the second step is creating visual links. So imagine a cat sitting on a gate. So this is how keyword method works. The next method is method of loci. So here it's very effective for remembering things in a sequence. If you want to remember in a sequence by visualizing them as objects arranged in a familiar physical space. Firstly, the first step here is visualize known locations. So you should imagine a location which you are very familiar with. So choose familiar place like your own home. The second step is associate items to places. Now, whatever you want to remember, associate it with each space in your home. And then the third step is, because you have to remember it in a sequence, you have to take a mental walk through your home. Like, for example, if you want to remember the topics under this chapter, human memory, you visualize your home, the foyer or the entrance, that is the area between the outer space of your home and your inner space or your living room. That's the foyer. So imagine nature of memory as a foyer. Firstly, imagine human memory as your home. We all have a name for a home. So here the name for our home is human memory. And as you are entering inside, the foyer is nature of memory. That is the first topic. Then the next topic of memory stages or processes, that will be your living room, because you enter from the foyer, you go to the living room. And the next could be your kitchen. So the next topic, information processing, is your kitchen. So this way you take a mental tour of entering your home and going inside each room. So that's how you remember all the topics in a sequence. The next method is mnemonics using organization. So here we don't use visuals, we organize the information. So chunking is one method. What is chunks? Groups. So you are dividing large information into smaller groups. So you're making them manageable. This dramatically increases short-term memory capacity because you're making it into smaller units. So for example, you want to remember someone's phone number. This 10-digit number can be made into two chunks, and this is how you can remember it better. And then you have first letter technique. So here we take the first letter of each word that we want to remember and arrange them to form a word, a meaningful word, or it could be a phrase or sentence. Like how we remember rainbow colors as Vibgyor. Now the third one is comprehensive memory improvement strategies. Here we are using our knowledge about how human memory works, the different stages and processes that happen in human memory for us to remember information. So based on our understanding of how human memory works, we can use that to improve our memory. One is engaging in deep level processing. So you already know to push whatever information you have from short-term memory to long-term memory, you have to rehearse it. And one is maintenance rehearsal, that is Rata Marna, root memory. The other one is elaborative rehearsal. Here you try to understand the lesson, and this is deep level processing. Here, first we try to understand the meaning of the information that we want to remember. Then we ask questions and we connect new information to our existing knowledge. So we form connections. That's how we always learn. We form association between the new and the old information. And the next is minimizing interference. Avoiding studying similar subjects one after the other. Because they are so similar, it creates confusion. And you know what is interference. The two types of interference: old information interfering with learning new information, or new information blocking recollection of old information, right? So avoid studying similar subjects one after the other. You have to arrange your schedule so that you have unrelated topics in between, or if you can't do that, give yourself some break and then study the similar subject. And the last one is providing retrieval cues. So when you're studying, in your information itself, in your notes, you have to identify some cues for retrieval and create some links between the different topics. So this will make it easier to remember all the topics. Instead of trying to remember the entire lesson as such, you're trying to remember different topics under the same lesson. And there are many cues. I will discuss all this in detail in the class. We have to put this into practice in our daily life because it will help us in remembering all the information better for our exam. How to use sensory cues, all the information that is coming from our senses, how can that help in learning information from our book? Then there can be contextual cues where the place in which we study makes a difference in recalling whatever we have learned. Then there is state dependent cues, our internal state, whether we are happy, we are sad, angry. That also matters in how much we are able to recall. And there is associative cues, how we associate what we are thinking of learning to what we already know. So all these types of cues help to access stored memories more easily. The other method is PQRST method. This was developed by Thomas and Robinson. So this comprehensive study strategy, it will help us in improving our understanding and our retention through systematic engagement with the material. You're being very systematic in what you want to understand, in what you want to study and understand and recall for the exam. So what is the P in this, the acronym PQRST? P is preview. You look at take an overview of the entire chapter, familiarize yourself with the contents. Then Q is having questions. Once you study, you will have doubts. So raise questions and seek answers. And R is read. So the third step, start reading carefully and look for answers to your questions. Then you have to rewrite what you have already read. Write the entire chapter, the topics in your own words. That is self-recitation. And T for test. In the end, you attempt previous year's question papers, model questions from model question papers to assess how much you have understood and retained. So this is all about techniques to improve our memory, how it can be helpful in our daily life. So even when we are studying, when I'm teaching you these topics, I will help you. We can implement together all these techniques for all the chapters, for each of the topics, so that you will be able to remember all this and recollect easily in the exam. Until the next video, thank you so much.